4:30, we'll call the meeting to order. Anything changes to the agenda?
Nope.
Call for a motion to adopt agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Tom can't second.
I first, Tom second.
Tom's got second.
Tom
Tom's
second.
not a member. Dave seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I say aye. Motion carried. Anything for public input? Okay. Wastewater treatment plant updates, Mr. Ben.
Good afternoon. So don't have too much on the agenda this week. So last month I told you guys about one of the candidates declined the job offer. And then we offered it to the second candidate and he got a promotion and a pay increase. So he also declined the job offer. So we went back to NeoGov. January 17th, we should have hopefully more candidates to go over for the wastewater operator position. We also had a problem with our digester coating. They couldn't get all the coating off. So we gave them an ultimatum, either take off the cover, get the coating off, or pay for our natural gas. So they opted to go with the natural gas until spring when they can get the cover in and do the job correctly. And then the last thing I have is I'm working on the mercury minimization plan. Basically, it focuses on the dental offices in the city. Does anybody have any questions on the plan I'm putting together according to the write-up? Hopefully next month I will have everything done so that you guys can review it, and there will be an ordinance that we will have to put in to the city's ordinance, I guess. So does anybody have any questions?
Does this apply now? It's in the filling, so if they take out a filling, they have to.
Yeah, if they do any work on your tooth, if it has mercury fillings or they're putting that amalgam in, they have to have that separator. Because parts per trillion is so small,
Right.
that fine little dust can spike everything.
Wow.
Nobody has any other questions? That's all I have.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is review an ordinance designating 2-hour parking on the south half of Lincoln Court, I believe.
Yep. So I'll start off the conversation. And Chief Schleter's here with us to kind of talk about, he's the one that has been getting the complaints, but for the most part, the city lot behind Earl Lewaters and Patty's Hair Fair right here at 210 Lincoln Court, that's a city lot right there. And we're getting complaints of extended parking. And like Chief can bring up right now, and Jeff, if you want to come up to a microphone so we can catch you. It's very hard to enforce overnight parking or 24-hour parking. So Jeff, if you want to kind of.
Sure. So that lot is currently, it's 24-hour parking in the whole lot. But for some reason on the south side, someone at one point put up some signs on some tires that said no overnight parking. So we were getting complaints from Earl Waters and Patty from Patty's Hair Fair, always that these cars were parked there and that they were in excess of their time and when overnight parking started. And, you know, does overnight parking start at midnight, at 10 p.m., at 2 a.m.? When is it? It makes it very tough for us to enforce. Plus 24-hour parking, we're not checking parking all the time, so we don't know when to start that 24-hour gap. So what I had suggested is that maybe we look at it since they're interested in using it for businesses. And they claim that on the North Water Street side, that there's not enough parking always there, so they like to park back there, which is easy access to both their buildings, is that we look at a limited amount of time. And I had suggested maybe you look at like a 2-hour time frame, so 2-hour parking. Because realistically, 2-hour is in excess of what it is, because we're not there taking note of every time you park your car. It's when we go to respond, then we typically give 2 hours, and then we enforce it. So it just makes it easier for us, and also getting things into the ordinance, doing it the proper way is probably the best way for us to be able to enforce things. And we've been working on this, and when we do the recodification of the ordinances, we're looking at this stuff, trying to make sure everything's in there, and that some of the signs that have been put up throughout the years are justified by our ordinance. So Chad and I had kind of talked about 2 hours, 4 hours. I think Chad, we also talked with the mayor a little bit about this. And I think a 2-hour would be my recommendation if you're going to change it. But we also got to be careful, if we change this lot, or we're going to have other lots eventually want their lots changed too because of businesses. So, but I think the ordinance that we have written up is 2 hours, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
Is that the whole lot?
Just those spots on
By the
the,
building?
right there, about 5 spots on the south side of the
South side.
parking lot. The other side of the parking lots can still remain 24 hours. So all those are 24 hours over there.
Do you have signs that say 24 hours?
Yep, there's signs that say 24 hours on the north side of the lot. On the south side, I said there's some tires that are with posts in them that say no overnight parking. I think it's no overnight parking,
I think
right?
that's what it said, yeah.
Maybe then to get rid of those, and then you should put the sign
Permanent.
up 2-hour parking only, city ordinance. Like,
Yep, that's what we'd do is, so on the south side, you essentially probably have 2 signs that say 2-hour parking, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 with arrows
Yeah.
pointing in between. And then we'd leave the signs up on the north side for 24-hour parking.
How do the business feel about that, Waters and Patty?
I think that's what they've always wanted.
Sure.
I talked to Patty briefly. I think maybe
Yeah,
Mark and
yeah.
Chad had all spoken to her. I think it would make them happy to limit the parking so that their customers have spots. Because what ends up happening is the apartments on North Water Street on the south side of the road, a lot of those people will park in that parking lot overnight.
Well, yeah.
Or, for example, they'll get down at 2 a.m. with a shift, and then they'll park in there, and then the lots, the spots are filled. Patty and Earl come in, they see these cars there. These people are telling us, well, I didn't park there until 2 a.m. They're saying, well, these signs say no parking overnight, which the signs aren't valid. And we end up running into a problem. So I think it's better to have direction on how we want to do it. If we want to leave it all 24 hours, we leave it all 24 hours, but otherwise we specify that one side with 2-hour.
What do our other parking lots have for restrictions? What, can you overnight park on any parking lot in the city of New London?
Most of them are 24 hours. There's a couple exceptions. There's one back here tied in to the city building. That's 4-hour parking, I believe, except for city-owned vehicles. I believe the one up at the library is 4-hour parking.
Yep.
Help me out, Chad. Is there any other ones?
I'm bringing up the
There's
ordinance
the
right now.
parking lot at the pool, I believe.
Okay, so
There's a couple of them.
that's on the streets. On the street, 2-hour. So we have 2-hour parking limit already. These are more streets. St. John's Place, North Water Street.
That's the next one, I think. 4-hour parking lots.
And we just did this recently. This was municipal pool because we had some people back here parking. So the city buildings, we did like a 4-hour parking unless, you're a city employee working at the time. But then downtown, there's the parking limits and stuff. But I think all the other city parking lots are
24-hour.
24-hour right now.
So you could park there overnight or up to 24 hours.
Okay.
And the
Because-
game that we play a lot of times is people will move their car from one spot to the spot next to it. Sometimes it appears that they didn't move it. When we go and check on it, we try to keep track, but we still, when we get called, we typically give them 24 more hours.
Yeah, because I believe this was brought up to council when we put those signs up 2 or 3 years ago. the 24-hour parking on the north side only.
Has this been brought up before?
Well, we just brought the 4-hour parking within the that's since I've taken over public works. So probably in the last 2 years that we did this one.
2018.
No, I mean, it said review an ordinance designating 2-hour parking.
Yeah, so we're amending, we're just adding in the
You're
one.
adding it to 2-hour.
Yes. So where's the 2-hour one? Yeah. So we're adding it to this one right here. We're just going to add it as, I think,
Okay.
number 7, right?
Yeah.
2-hour parking, and no overnight parking.
Just 2-hour parking for that one. You still have 24-hour parking, like on a weekend, I suppose you couldn't do
Yeah.
24-hour parking.
Weekend would
that
be
still would be
24
an
hours. It's just Monday through,
That's what I meant with Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
or is that what it is? Monday through Saturday, Monday through Friday?
Yeah, so the ordinance would read, we would add in those 7 south-facing stalls in that parking lot, designated parking lot. And then since we're just adding it to the current ordinance, instead of making a new section just for
Yeah.
2-hour parking, we thought we'd just add it to the existing 2-hour parking section that's in there.
There.
I make a motion, we approve that.
I got a question. All right, I got a question. You're saying on Sundays and holidays, because they do business on Saturdays,
So Saturday, it would still be 2-hour parking,
okay?
Just Sundays and.
but it's
except Sundays and
just during
holidays.
business hours.
Okay.
So someone could come there at 8 PM at night, and as long as they're out of there by 8 AM, they're fine. But from 8 AM to 5 PM is 2
Yeah.
hours.
That makes sense. I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
thank you. Oh, Jeff.
Okay, the next item we'll bring up is review a recommendation on traffic analysis, County Highway X. I believe we brought this up once we wanted to lower the speed limit to from 35 to 25. We're here in the county, they didn't seem to think we were having much problem there. But I think they did their survey at a time that we would not have anywhere near the problem that we would say during fishing season.
Yeah. Casey and I talked about this a little bit. Obviously, the information presented at the last meeting did show that there are some accidents through there, but over the last 10 years, it hasn't been above and beyond anything. And then if you remember, his data showed that the speeds were actually at or lower for the most part on that section. Now, again, he had that survey done at a time that the boat launch wasn't in full force like it would be during the walleye season. But one thing that he and I talked about was if we would want to do the traffic analysis during that time of year, when the walleye season is at its high, and have those counters there, the data is probably going to be really skewed because a lot of people are slowing down to turn in.
Yep.
So you're going to see your traffic numbers even be lower, which is probably not going to be an accurate data of what the speeds are in that sense, because you're going to get a lot of those people slowing down to turn. So whether you have them do another traffic study during that time, you're going to see more cars, but I don't know if the speeds are going to be there, right? Because a good chunk of that's going to be slowing down to just a turn in the lot.
A comparison to this, I don't know if I brought it up at that meeting, is having slow and awake on the river. The only place they'll put slow and awake on the river is if it's a dangerous, like a boat landing. So to me, that's the same situation as a highway. Whether you have accidents or not, I mean, you don't have any boat accidents out on the river, but they put slow and awake by boat launches to stop an accident. So to me, this is the same situation as putting out as a boat landing is, a boat launch is.
And I agree with there, Bob. I think this should be more preventative as opposed to being a reaction to having a lot of accidents. We slow it down, pretty good odds, past 10 years history will even be better. I just think it'll be, my point on here, and I've taught Casey at our highway meetings, is that once the traffic increases during the walleye run and stuff like that, there's gonna be a hell of a lot more traffic. Granted, they'll be slowing down because guys will pull their trailers over or whatever else. But again, I think by lowering this, it's gonna be more preventative than reactionary.
And Casey did reiterate that whatever the city wants to do, he'll follow through and, try to follow
Yeah.
through with that. So if after the traffic, like he said last month, he has to jump through this step to kind of show that he's going through all the hoops in making changes. So that's why he had to do the traffic
The
analysis.
state makes them do all that stuff.
Do that. So if the city, after seeing that data, if the city still wants to follow through, just tell me, make a motion right now, and I will pass it on to Casey saying, yep, that's still what the city wants to do. And
And we didn't have as many, now we're gonna have more dumping at the sewage treatment plant. You're having these big semis and stuff coming in there, so
Yep.
that increases the traffic in the accident.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's, what we're doing is, like Fred was saying, preventing it, being proactive rather than being reactive.
Yep.
Wait till we have some accidents and then say, okay, we should have changed the speed limit. Now, I don't know, that's my feelings on it.
I think most of us agree with that. Mike, Bob, me, Dave.
What do you think?
Sure. I agree with you guys.
Well, we need a motion to say what?
in motion to continue, asking the county to continue their efforts to reduce the speed limit.
I will
And
make that
I'll
motion,
wordsmith it.
Chad. I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to proceed with talking to the county to reduce that speed limit from 35 to 25. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. All right, the next thing is discuss crosswalk and additional light by the school district where the buses are parked. One
Again,
of
there
the
was a-
things, what we cannot put a crosswalk where there's a break in the curb for entrance to the parking lot. Am I correct?
We
Right.
should not have a driveway and a crosswalk together. We should separate them somehow if you're gonna do that. So it's, like I said last month, it's not just a matter of throwing some paint down. I mean, we would have to probably revamp the curb lines there, to shorten the driveway access to allow for a pedestrian crosswalk there. And then also the considerations over on the bus garage side, because they don't have a curb cutout or sidewalk surface going up to their building right now.
I question why the city is doing all the discussion on this and not the school district. It's their buses. They're forced to park on the other side of the road. I think that somebody should be talking to the school board about their employees having to walk across that road.
they own that land and stuff, right?
I just
We
don't
don't.
think it's a city's.
The city's lots on the north side.
Yeah,
We did
And
discuss that last time
Yeah.
about having
and then it
the
goes across.
but
school.
across the
School
street.
board
with buses,
involved in
that's-
that.
It's
And
benefiting the school district, or the
Yes.
bus employees by far, 100%.
And down from there is the county's salt building and highway building.
But I don't think any of the highway people park across the street there.
No, they park.
They park on their own
on
So they
their
park in their own, like
Yeah, they're on
maybe
their own
the
side
school
there.
district should put a parking lot over on the other side for them poor people. So they don't have to walk across from the city lot.
Yeah,
I don't understand why we're taking the brunt of this, trying to figure out where to put a crosswalk. Or if we're gonna put lights up, we're gonna pay for them when it's a school district.
how far does the lot go from the waters to where it's city owned?
About where the garage is. If you look
I
right.
was gonna
right
say, was
straight-
that
right
driveway,
straight
wasn't
across the garage.
You can plain, I think we can see by the pavement.
Lines up right about with their garage.
Okay, where's,
So this is the waters,
okay,
and this lot, there's two lots of city that starts here and then it goes to this one. So This line right here is the
Okay.
divided line between the waters and the city.
Okay,
And then they cross to about right, somewhere in here, I think.
okay.
So they pretty much cross in this area.
So you're saying you're gonna have to break a curb there to make a new crosswalk. You can't do it where there's a driveway.
Or fill that driveway in that's right there
That might be a
and make
better
them
option.
drive further down to pull in.
Yeah. That might be a better idea.
Well, and like to Dave's point, I
Who's gonna
mean,
pay for the sidewalk going up there?
I can talk to the school district first and say, okay, what do you guys think with all this too? I mean, it was brought up as safety concern at a Board of Public Works meeting, so we've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. fine.
What's you guys, input?
Well, I agree with Dave.
Let's
We
get
should
in the
probably
game.
put the ball in the school district's court, get their response, and then we'll take this up at the next meeting.
I like that idea.
And I know when we talked about last month, we said maybe going down to 25 in that area, maybe that's.
Yeah, that might,
that'd
that
be
might,
enough with it.
because, yeah, that, yeah, 'cause
Well,
that-
there's a lot of concern in the safety is the time of day.
Yeah.
They're going through there early hours in the morning and late hours in the evening in the dark. And nobody's really looking for a crosswalk there. Nobody's looking for pedestrians. That's where the safety issue arises. And I mean, we're not only looking out for the safety of them, but the safety of our pedestrians that walk within our city and our drivers.
would you have a sign up with a flashing yellow light? It's a crosswalk?
At minimum, I would put crosswalk ahead. I don't know if you put the flashing ones, but you would put, the pedestrian crossing sign there, minimum.
I agree with you guys. I mean, I think our next step is to get the school board involved and find out what their expectations is, what they want to do and what kind of skin in the game they want to throw out.
Yeah, because they've got they gotta have some
Seems like you guys are willing to
investment.
meet
in
them
this thing.
someplace.
Okay,
I will reach out to Joel Marquardt and start that conversation. See where it goes.
Joe's a good man.
Okay, that was strictly discussion anyway. I think we've taken care of that. Recommend to council a preliminary assessment resolution for sanitary laterals along Warner Allen Boulevard Road, whatever we're calling it this week.
So with Warner Allen being one of our road reconstruction projects this year, as you remember when we did Division Street, there's a whole process to go through if we're going to be changing sanitary laterals. And there's this whole preliminary resolution, final resolution, public hearing process that we have to go through to special assess a property for an improvement. So this is the start of that process. We don't know for sure yet exactly at what extent that we would change out sanitary or water service laterals. I know Jason from New London Utilities contacted me, said they're not really looking at any water service laterals right now. Mike, you can jump in if you could. But if we do change out any of the sanitary laterals, there might be an option to change out the water service laterals as well. Mike?
So we actually talked about that today, and we are not planning on changing any water service laterals. But if you were going to, do a sewer lateral, then we would probably do the water lateral, just because if you've already had the terrace opened up or, you're going to do that, then cost would be minimal to put a service lateral in if you're going to do the sanitary. So we probably, only if you're going to do it, would be the case for us.
So this is the initial, basically, resolution or notice saying that we're considering it. We don't have it set in stone who we're doing yet, what we're doing. We're still evaluating those laterals. But if we're going to assess anybody, this is the first step in getting that word out there.
That basically covers what, about 2 city blocks?
Warner Allen, so
Oh, yeah, but there's only houses.
That's
say,
probably only
from
about 6
Pine
houses, about
Street
6
to
houses maybe.
the high school, which is, last I walked, it was only about 2 blocks.
You got our county garage comes off of there, the Parkview School, there's 6 houses. Then there's an apartment building on Beacon and Werner that have water that all come off of Warner Allen for us. I don't know about the sewer.
Yeah, so there's this house in
One
the
on
corner down
Oshkosh,
here.
one on the corner of Oshkosh,
Uh,
or not Oshkosh, but I mean Beacon Avenue.
Beacon, yep. That, I think it's a duplex, right, Mike?
Yeah,
Yeah, that quadplex there. And then the egg building actually comes off a Beacon for us. I don't know where the sewers are, but
There's a 4-family that borders the baseball field.
And we think the school district comes off of Washington, but then there's this, block and a half stretch right here of houses, and then Parkview, once we get closer down here.
probably no lead services along there. Those are,
no, all copper.
okay, pretty newer houses there, relatively anyway.
Mhm. And once we're done with the investigation, we might feel that we don't need to replace any of the sanitary laterals, and then we're fine. But this is the first step. If we're going to do it, if we're going to assess anything, timing wise, I have to have it on this meeting to get this initial preliminary resolution approved.
Need a motion to recommend this to council?
Yep.
Make a motion, we recommend to council the preliminary assessment resolution for the sanitary laterals along Warner Allen.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Preliminary resolution. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Right?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. The next is discuss and possibly act on options for brush disposal.
All right, so in the past, before the July 20th, 2019 storm, we were lucky enough that pretty much all the brush the city collected, we were able to take to Ort Lumber and they would take it. And just, they had a market and they got rid of it. Today that market has changed. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do with our brush. We've been in contact with Ort Lumber and they are no longer interested in just taking it anymore because that market's not there anymore. They did give us the option and we got to work on the number a little bit, but they threw out a number for $10,000 to $12,000 a year. We can get into an agreement with them and then they would take it all. And they felt like that's enough that would justify them disposing of it, grinding it up and taking it away. Luke and I have been kind of looking at other options just to make sure we're doing our due diligence. Would we want to buy our own tub grinder? Well, that's pretty darn expensive. We need more staff to do it. I reached out to Clintonville and Wapaka and Wyowega, the other Wapaka County municipalities. So what are you guys doing? Clintonville was in the same boat. They said they used to get rid of it for free, and this last round they had to pay for it. Wapaka's the same way. They bring somebody in to grind it, but then they use it and they sell it to their residents. And Wyowega was, I think, the same way. They get rid of it. They have to contract out to bring somebody in to grind it. I think Luke did say, I think it was in Freedom. There was a place that might take it, but we would have to ship it. And that'd be a lot of truck costs for us to ship it all the way there. And they would only take the good stuff because they chip it up for good, house mulch or residential mulch. So they don't want the junk, they want the good stuff. So looks like our market unfortunately has changed, that what we were doing, getting rid of it for free, is no longer, at least for the time being, not there. Our only option right now, or two options right now, either consider a contract with Ort Lumber or DTEC to basically a year contract that we just take it there, dump it, and they grind it, take care of it, dispose of it, however. Or B, we keep on, piling it up. Primarily the only site we have is over behind Floral Hill right now, that big of a site. And then every year, bid out a contract to have somebody come in, tub grind it, and take it away. The only problem with that right now, it's getting pretty full. I haven't been there in a while. Jamie, how full is that site right now? It's getting pretty.
3/4 full.
Yeah, she's filling up pretty quick. So I don't know if we can go, the whole spring yet without filling up all the way. just because we're doing a lot of tree trimming now that we're catching up on in the past too. So we're creating a lot of brush just with the city stuff. So I just wanted to kind of have that general discussion now. This is kind of where we're at. We've been kind of asking around what all our options are, and looks like we've only got 2 that are really 3 if we want to start hauling to Freedom, but that's a lot of transport. down there.
Chad, did DTEC give you a time frame as far as the contract would, how many years are they looking at, or is that a year to year?
That'd be
thing?
year to year.
Year to year.
Yep.
How often,
Have we talked to Muckwa?
I have not talked to Muckwa. I guess how do you want, because the last agreement with Muckwa
picks up brush.
has,
no,
But I
I
think
think he's talking about them bringing it, dumping here, because we
Yeah.
charge them.
They were dumping here.
And then we gotta get it ground up.
Yep.
They're getting theirs for nothing.
nope, there's,
They pay.
To have it ground up,
I think
Well,
it's
they pay to dump here.
Yeah.
That's when Lou was here. I think these guys set up, there's like a 3-year agreement,
Yeah, I think it was a 3-year agreement.
and
for
they
that.
pay us, I'd have to look, I can't remember
Yeah,
what
I
it
don't
was.
remember.
It wasn't very much.
No. But this is something as we move forward,
Wasn't
you
it
know, to
like
consider.
30,000 the last time we had a tub grinder come in here and do
It
it?
was over 30.
So.
That was the big storm,
Right,
so
but
you
that
had a
was
lot
still only
more.
2 of the 3 piles over there.
You had,
Saying Flora Hill is almost full. I think 10 to 12,000 is pretty cheap.
If it's an every year contract, I mean, we're not in it. If we find something else,
Yes.
we can move forward. I mean, the only thing we'd have to consider is if they want a
I mean, I think,
longer
that-
extended contract.
I think this is a good service to the people. I think we definitely have to put this out to the people so that they understand that this is part of what you're paying taxes for in the city. So don't be complaining that about your taxes so much. I mean, we have to really get out to the people and start showing them the benefits they have in New London that we don't have other cities. We do not charge them when we replace a street. We do not charge them when we replace curb and gutter. Kimberly, a lot of the valley cities do.
Sidewalks.
You are charged per linear foot. And I think that we have to really get this out to the people and let them know, because in my opinion, I think in a couple of years, we're gonna have to raise taxes here to be able to cover everything we're doing. But we have to start letting the people know that some of these benefits that they're getting, so don't be yipping at your tax rates until you start looking at what you are going to pay per foot for sidewalks, curb and gutter, and streets if you lived in the valley.
I agree.
and what I would, if we would do like a contract with DTAC, what we would do on our end is keep track of how many loads we're taking. So that by the end of the year, we can justify, I mean, how much do we actually take there? Is it worthwhile? I mean, you're gonna need a year of that just to kind of figure it out, but,
How's that governed, Chad? When you need them, you just call them and tell them to come pick it up, or,
for our current pile,
no, if you make an agreement with Ort.
if we had an agreement with Dort, my understanding would be we would just haul it to their site on Highway S
Oh.
as we collect it. So as people are dumping off by the wastewater treatment plant, or if we're collecting,
Yeah.
curbside, we would just take it there, dump, and
Oh,
drive
okay.
away. We wouldn't have to haul, we wouldn't have to worry about grinding. We wouldn't have to worry about transporting it to wherever they go with
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
Kind of go from there.
Would this cover storms too? I mean, if we had a big storm, or would that be a separate entity?
I think that would be a separate entity. This would just
Okay.
be for a normal year. If you get like a July, 20th storm like we had in 19, that's a whole different ballgame. That's when we got a contract with them to actually come in and help us pick up, at that point in time.
yeah.
That was went into FEMA anyway, some of that.
So unless you guys got some other options, I think I'm going to continue talking with DTAC and can maybe get an agreement signed up and
Yep.
bring that to the next meeting and kind of talk about, and I don't know, we got a lot of brush. We just got to figure out what we're going to do with it now.
What about, by Royalton over there? Is he ever thought about grinding, or,
I can talk to Mid-State.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what he does out there outside of taking wood.
I'm not aware he does
Oh, what's
grinding
his name?
because
Rob Ferg, I think.
I think he's
Sure,
just in the
yeah.
firewood.
I think he does,
Firewood, huh?
yeah.
There's a ton of wood out there. Holy God.
Too bad there isn't a big pit or something that we couldn't fill up.
Well, luckily, we're getting
We can
away,
burn it.
we are disposing of our yard waste at the MCC quarry on Bean City Road. So to your point, we don't have to deal with the yard waste because we just put it in their quarry and they use that for the remediation, which is good. But they don't want the brush because it doesn't,
It doesn't break down as fast.
like, I'll talk to Midstate. Maybe he's doing something that I'm not aware of, just to kind of turn over that stone. We'll continue talking to DTAC. We might have to bring them in, either bring them to our site to grind up what's there, or I'd rather do that than have to haul everything over there, what we have at Floral Hill right now. So we're gonna have to figure out what we've collected already. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're gonna get away with giving it away for free for the time being, at least, until
Yeah.
maybe that market changes. So,
It's not really an astronomical number either.
No, that's pretty reasonable. It sounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's asking for a lot.
correct.
And they're local, so if you need them, you got them. I mean, they're here all the time.
Yeah.
So that's worth something.
Right.
Yep.
Jamie?
I got a comment on, and if you did do that with DTAC, would also be taking it out of the cemetery, which is a big thorn up there. There's a lot of issues up there with that brush that I have, and people that are walking and using that cemetery with the traffic going through there and the mess that it makes on the roadway, and it would be taking that out of there too, so it's not just spending the money to get rid of it, it's
Yep.
getting that out of there. Shutting that area
Cleaning
down
up the
back there.
cemetery.
Don't want any more furniture up there, huh?
No, it's worse. It's absolutely worse. During funerals, when you got big trucks going by and skid steers going through there and tractors and saws are running and you're trying to have a funeral and it's just not ideal.
So with that said, if we do get this going, then like Jamie said, we'd probably be able to close that off right up there. Everything will be a direct dump then.
Potentially, whatever we collect on city streets and then whatever we collect behind the treatment plant, we would just haul straight to
Yep.
the Highway S plant and give it to them.
Like that.
So,
I guess it's up to me. My recommendation is continue talking to them and bring it up at a future meeting when we have, we don't know what anybody else thinks. I think we've got to do something with it.
and the only other side note consideration is, we didn't budget for this because we've gotten rid of it for free in the past. So this was a unbudgeted item, whatever we end up doing, 10, 12 grand or whatever, just so everybody's aware of that. We got to figure that out as well. Because it's not a cost that we've had in the past. Hoping that market was going to come back pretty quick, but
No.
it hasn't.
So what does this recommend? Does this just mean we have to bring this up at finance and personnel?
We got to figure it out. Judy and I have talked a little bit about it, but this was more a heads up for you guys what we're talking about, to see if you guys had any direction you wanted me to go or any other ideas, but
Would it be, never mind. I was thinking faster than I could talk.
Next thing I see is director's report.
let's see. Don Goodrow, our street operator, completed 15 years of service on December 5th. So we congratulate him on that. Other than that, the couple snowstorms that we've had, otherwise the crews have just been busy with tree trimming and stump grinding. They've been hammering the stump grinding as much as they can because we could stump grind and capture that stump grinding cost until December 31st for that $50,000 DNR grant. So they were pounding away as quickly as they could. grinding stumps to collect as much as we could on that grant. And now that December 31st is done, I gotta write that grant application for that reimbursement for that. So that's what they've been kind of doing on the street side.
They also help us bust out our water main break today, so thank you.
There you go.
All righty. Future agenda items, I think we would probably bring up this what we're gonna do with the brush.
That, and I'll follow up with the discussion with the school district on the crosswalk by the garage.
Yeah.
So those two, for sure.
How wide is our trucks? How wide can they plow?
How wide are their trucks?
How wide can they plow?
Oh. That's
To
an
me,
abs-
I go around town and I see them 1.5 or 2 feet away from the curb.
Mhm.
And why is this? Are our plows too small? Are we not plowing to get to the curb? I mean, the thing I see about this, having lived here a few years in my life, is this is all right, maybe the first time we have a snowfall. Every time we have a snowfall, they move further away from the curb. At a point in time, we're lucky to get 2 cars to be able to go one each way down the street. And I think we should be looking into how we can get plowed to the curb. I know some people complain that we're putting snow on their sidewalk. Well, my opinion is whoop-de-ding.
Mhm.
We've got to make our streets safe to travel on.
I'll follow up with Luke and just make sure they're attempting that as best they can. I know we got 3 new drivers, which makes a difference. But
Leave that short shot on Jefferson where I live. You guys are doing perfect. Because if you go right to the curb, you are gonna take my mailbox right off.
sure.
I had no idea of any of them ordinances until you sent them to me.
Oh, really?
Mine is on the curb.
Sure.
I got the cleanest corner in the city because we got the county and the city scraping or sharpening their blades by my house. 10 in the morning.
Dad,
On at 5.
Just like short side of Jefferson.
I seen what you're talking about too, is people complaining about when the plow comes by and throws it back up onto their sidewalk.
A lot of
And-
side streets.
I think they do a great job at driving slow enough that, I mean, it happens on mine. I live on a corner lot, and it does happen, but it doesn't happen all the time.
I'm
catch
out there,
22
told the
back and
guy to
forth.
Plow all the way over here. One guy stopped. He said, I'm gonna put it on your sidewalk. I said, big deal. I'll move it. I want the streets wide
Yeah.
enough so we can drive
Yeah.
it.
They don't piggyback now like they used to either, do they?
They do sometimes, depending on what the situation is,
Yeah.
when they can.
Because I know before they used to one to go by and the other one would be right behind him.
Only other note I would give them is like on, like Pershing.
Mhm.
When they do Jefferson and they do Oshkosh, they need to round them corners. You know what I'm
Pershing?
saying? Because they come straight off and they go straight across.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Like for me, when I go down Oshkosh now, there's always a big pile there and I gotta drive all the way into the other lane to come around. And if you got new drivers, that's probably why this is.
Well, we've moved our our sidewalks and put them in the middle, kind of. We used to come right straight out to the road. Now we
Oh.
come at an angle. So when I see them plowing, they're not plowing that curve around.
Mhm.
And we've got a lot of people that are too lazy to shovel out to the road. I know we walk a lot, so we see a lot of places where people aren't shoveled out. Sometimes you gotta walk out in the middle of the road at a driveway
Mhm.
because you can't get through at the intersection where people haven't moved snow.
Chad.
Go ahead, Mike.
So I see this a lot as well because when we get a water main break, the first problem is try to get the water in a catch basin. so that it doesn't run all over the place and make ice everywhere. So the first thing that happens when we get a water main break is try to get the water, to a catch basin. I realize on the curb, we were just talking to Don this morning when we were breaking about this, and he said, obviously, when you plow, you can't catch every curb exactly right, but you guys will come back later after storms and kind of clean up the curve part of the curb. But on the straightaways, if you don't get close to the curb, and I see this a lot, then the water can't get to the catch basin because it ends up making like 3-4 inches of ice along the curb. And then, so I've already spent times where I spent maybe an hour chiseling ice just to try to get water to go into a catch basin. And I mean, I get there's different kinds of storms, and sometimes you're able to get to snow immediately, and that helps tremendously. And other times you can't get there right away. And so, I mean, I get there's a lot of factors in it, but the farther away they are from the curb, the harder it is for us to try to do that. And I see that happen a bit. I'm just putting in my 2 cents worth, not complaining or anything, just letting you know that it affects us as well.
Thanks, Mike. No, I'll take this and pass it on to Luke and make sure he's
Fine.
training them enough to, and it's a challenge to do that. I mean, you don't want to be rubbing that curb. So I mean, how close do you get without scraping it constantly and then,
Yep.
you don't want to damage it, but
Mhm.
that's something we can definitely pass on and continue to improve on.
Anybody got anything else to bring up?
Move to adjourn.
I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Made.
Second. Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Meeting